Hi Studio Art. Today we're going to continue on with our study of space for really from now until the end of the school year, focusing on linear perspective, which is why I have on my straw fedora that I got in Florence, just a few blocks from the Florence Cathedral, where Brunelleschi was thought to discover linear perspective in the 15th century. And there's attached to the assignment a Khan Academy video with some background information about that if you'd like to watch it. So in our study of space so far, we've talked about the loose ways that you can create the illusion of a three-dimensional world on a flat plane by where you arrange things from the bottom of the page to the top of the page, the scale, things get smaller as they go back, and having things overlap. Now we're going to get into the specifics of using linear perspective, or those converging lines that go towards a vanishing point to help to create that illusion of space. For this week, we're going to deal with one-point perspective, which is the idea that on the horizon line, there's a single vanishing point. Next week will be two-point perspective, and then the final week, you'll draw an interior where you'll put your understanding of both to work. Okay, so we've got our sketchbook, and you'll need something to draw with. I've got a few pencils. Having a straight edge is a good idea too. I happen to have a triangle, you know how I love triangles, sitting around the house. The first thing you're going to do is throw down what's called an eye level line. Some people think of it as a horizon line on your page. It doesn't have to be right in the middle or towards the top or towards the bottom. The higher you put it, the more ground you create as opposed to sky. The lower you put it, the less ground as opposed to sky. Thinking Renaissance, where everything was about balance. I'm just going to go ahead and throw my eye level line right across the middle of the page. Okay? Now, on the eye level line is where any vanishing points would sit. We're only going to have one vanishing point because we're dealing with one-point perspective. So I'm going to actually put an ELL on there to identify that as the eye level line. And I'm going to go ahead and make a point in the middle here and put a little VP on it. Okay? That's the vanishing point. That's the point where the viewer's eye is at that level, and that's where the viewer's gaze is fixed at that vanishing point, and everything will run to the vanishing point. So since I had that Taboo Junior box, I'm going to kind of play with that box shape to create my one-point perspective boxes. So first I'm going to have one sitting over here in the corner of the page. I'm going to, well, I'll use the straight edge for it. I'm going to go ahead and draw that box. And I'm drawing it really as a straight box here. Okay, that would be the side of my box. And I see it straight on. Now, if I'm looking at that box, I can see the front, I can see the top, and I can see the side. So I got to figure out how to draw the top and the side using linear perspective. Any of these horizontal lines will go to the vanishing point. Okay, that's what one-point perspective is about. You've got your rectilinear front side, and then all other sides go to the vanishing point. So I'm going to use what's called a vanishing trace here, and I'm going to go from the corner to the vanishing point and lightly put a line there. Then I'm going to go from this other corner to the vanishing point and lightly put a line, and then from this other corner to the vanishing point and lightly put a line. So I can see those planes on the top and the side now. Now I'm going to decide how deep that box is going to go, and I'm going to cut that off. When I cut that off, I'm doing a line that's parallel to this line. Not an angle, it's not going anywhere, it's straight across. One of the things about linear perspective is every line is drawn with purpose. It's never going just kind of nowhere. So things are either very specifically and purposely matching up with your original shape or going to the vanishing point. So I can now drop this side down, also parallel to this original side, and now I'm going to go ahead and follow along those vanishing traces to do the other sides. Okay, and I'm going to darken this up so you can see it. Now, so now I've created a box with one condition on the ground to the left side of the vanishing point. Now let's make a box that crosses the vanishing point, like a tall building that goes above your eye level line, or a refrigerator or something. So I'm going to do a box over here, and I'm going to make it actually really quite big so that it crosses the vanishing point. And I'm going to go ahead and erase the eye level line going through it, just to really emphasize what I'm talking about here, is that this is a tall structure that goes above the eye level's height and sits on the ground here. So if there was such a thing, a building, if you're standing on the ground looking at a building, you can't see the top of it, right? You could see this front and you could see this side. So all I have to do for this is now draw this side. So as you can imagine, I would go from this corner and have my vanishing trace go to the vanishing point, from this corner to the vanishing point, decide how deep I want that building to be, and have my line parallel to this line. Okay? If it's not going to the vanishing trace, it's parallel to your original lines. And then I can go ahead and follow my vanishing trace here, follow my vanishing trace here. Take this away. And I've got nice big volume that crosses the eye level line. Let me give you another condition. Let's put something above the eye level line, but also right above the vanishing point. So if you could imagine like maybe something hanging from the ceiling, like a box or a light, or a spaceship flying through the air, who knows. So I'm going to have a box here. Okay, so this is something that would be above our heads, where we can see the front and the bottom, and we can't see the sides here because it's right above our vanishing point, right? There wouldn't be any ability to see the sides. So if we've got that situation, to the vanishing point, do my trace. I made that trace too dark. I'm going to make this. Okay, that goes to the vanishing point. I'm going to find the place where it cuts off. Okay, and I'm going to take that away. Okay, let me give you a couple of other things. Let's say I wanted to lay a throw rug down on the ground here, right? Flat on the ground. In that case, there's no volume to it. It's just sitting on the ground. So I could start with, I'm going to make that a little more parallel. I could start with just a line, flat on the ground, and then if I go to the vanishing trace with that, with my vanishing traces, and then decide on the depth of it, I've gone ahead and just put something right on the ground. That's just flat on the ground. Maybe that could be a rug or a mat or something. Okay? And while I'm at it, why don't I stand something up on there? I'll go ahead and make
So I just got a package in the mail. It arrived. My daughter brought it inside. She dropped it on the rug. Okay, so I'm going to draw that. Right. So there's the one edge of the box. It might have, you know, the Amazon tape on it. Amazon. Okay, it just arrived. Now, it's right under the vanishing point, so I can see this side and I can see the top. So let's see how deep I can make that box. I'm going to go ahead and draw my traces. Mark the back end of the box. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and delete this because we've got an overlapping situation here. All right. And my Amazon tape, I'm going to go ahead and use the vanishing point to put that on there too, because everything would, you know, Amazon. And I've gone ahead and put a rug on the ground and put a little box on top of it. Okay. What I'm going to want you to do is just do a 1-point perspective page in your sketchbook and just experiment with shapes above the horizon line, below the horizon line, crossing the horizon line. If you want to put in a different kind of shape, let's go ahead and I'm going to make a little bit of a compound shape here. I'm going to put my initial T for my first name, Tony. Okay, if you want to get complicated. Really, I'm just looking for boxes. I'm just looking for you to get to know linear perspective. But if I do something so complicated like this T, so now I've got a bunch of vanishing traces I'm going to have to straighten out. I can see this side. I can see this side. I can see under here. I can see this side here. I'm going to do the trace for that. And I can see this side here. I'm going to do the trace for that. Okay? So now, if it's this deep, this deep, this deep, all right, go ahead and get rid of that, get rid of that, okay? Okay, so I finished up my 1-point perspective linear experiments here. That's what I want you to do for this week. Just play with 1-point perspective. It's going to be hard at first. It's going to be a little confusing. Which way do I go? Just re-watch this video. Stop it, move it forward, move it back. The nice thing about having a video at home is you can have things move at the speed you want. If you have a question, you could always back it up and re-watch and see what kind of mastery of 1-point perspective you could get this week. And next week we'll do the 2-point perspective condition. Okay? Have a good week.